Yo, what is up, guys? It's Cohen back here again today with another video, back with a recap of the NBA games from earlier tonight. It was a pretty good slate of games. There were a lot of really fun games to watch and a lot of games that I really want to talk about. There are a couple games that weren't as good, so I won't mention them as much. But as you can probably tell from the title of the video, the main game I want to talk about is the Hornets Trailblazers game. Now, this game wasn't super close or anything, but it featured some fun stuff that I really want to talk about. I also really want to talk about Jazz Pelicans because that was a great game. Magic Mavericks was pretty good. Bulls Nuggets, Nets Spurs. Really, the only bad games of the night were Cavs Rockets and Pacers Sixers. So I'll talk about those a little bit less. But I'm going to start off, like I said, with Hornets Blazers. This game was really fun to watch. I have a low-key crush on the Charlotte Hornets as a basketball team. I love watching them play. They're just super fun. LaMelo gets them out and running, and he's the main guy I want to talk about on their team because LaMelo Ball is special. He has superstar potential. If he hits his ceiling, he's going to be like a top 5 guy in the league. He is so good. And I'm glad I was validated in that because I was of the opinion, I've probably mentioned this 100 times on the channel, but I was of the opinion that LaMelo Ball was the best player in this draft class. I thought his ceiling was as high as anyone else's in the draft. He's just special, and he came into the league, and since he's become a starter, recently he's putting up incredible numbers. Tonight he had 30, and it's only a matter of time before he scores 40 because he's just dynamic as a scorer. And even if he's not scoring the ball, he's affecting the game in every way imaginable. He's really lengthy on defense, so he gets, even if he's not a great defender like frame-wise, his length really gets in the way of people's shots. He's kind of sneaky too. He has a lot of speed, so he'll be able to sneak up on passing lanes. And not to mention his incredible impact on the offensive side of the ball. His playmaking is great. Always getting guys involved. Always getting guys exactly where they need to be. He'll throw passes to guys that don't even know they're going to get the ball. He puts them in the position to get the pass with the pass itself, and that's a gift. There's only a few players in the league who can do that. I'm fully on board on the LaMelo Ball hype train. I think he's going to be a stud, a superstar level player potentially, at least a perennial all-star type guy. And he's in his first season in the league too, and he's already this good. I don't see anyone challenging him for Rookie of the Year. Anthony Edwards has just been way too inefficient. The Timberwolves suck. The Hornets are competing for a playoff spot, so I think he's out of it. Tyrese Halliburton's cool, but the Kings also aren't very good, and he doesn't get as much run as LaMelo does, so he's out of it. James Wiseman's missed a lot of time. I just don't think he puts up the counting stats. I think this award is LaMelo Ball just to lose, and I don't see him losing it anyway, which is good for me because I predicted him as my Rookie of the Year. I'm just very happy to be validated in my belief that he was going to be a stud because he is a stud. If you don't watch the Hornets play, they're super fun to watch. These last 2 nights, this is now the second time I'm talking about the Hornets game in a row in these recap videos because I talked about the Hornets Kings game yesterday, mostly ranting about the Kings, but also mentioning the Hornets, giving them a shout out. And even though they lost tonight, the Hornets definitely deserve a shout out. They put up a good fight. This Blazers team is red hot. It was the second night of a back-to-back where they had to fight tooth and nail to beat that Sacramento Kings team, and they put up a good fight, even if it wasn't a losing effort. That does mean, though, I want to give a huge shout out to the Trailblazers who beat this team that they do play tough. They were without Gordon Hayward, who I forgot to mention yesterday at them not having in the Kings game. Someone let me know in the comments. I'm an idiot, I know. I apologize for that. But once again, didn't have Devontae Graham. Once again, missing Cody Zeller. So they're missing pieces. And the Blazers just made them pay. Missing pieces is no excuse against this Blazers team that doesn't have McCollum. They don't have Nurkic. 2 of their top 3 players, and they are on a roll. I think this is their 7th win in a row, if I'm not mistaken. They're firmly in that top echelon of the East, or firmly in the playoff picture at the moment. It is volatile. There's a lot of space to move up and down. Similarly to the East, not quite as to the extent because there's a couple teams that are just really, really bad in the West. It falls off quicker because there are a lot more teams up at the top, but they're fighting, even without these guys. And Damian Lillard's trying to build an MVP case. He had a great game tonight, but really the guy I want to give a shout out to is Carmelo Anthony, who played incredibly in a battle of the 2 Melos. Also, I want to say that the whole thing about you can't call LaMelo Ball Melo because that's Carmelo Anthony, that's so dumb. That's so dumb. Don't make this a beef. Like, it doesn't have to be. They both clearly respect each other. They did a jersey swap. I think that's actually going to be the thumbnail of this video. They did a jersey swap after the game. They clearly respect each other. LaMelo is clearly inspired by Carmelo Anthony. This doesn't have to be a beef thing. Calling LaMelo Melo isn't going to hurt anyone. And I think that it's perfectly acceptable. Like, if there's some dude named Kevin and someone else comes in the league and is like, I also want to go by Kevin because that is part of my name. And then everyone's like, no, you can't because this other guy's Kevin. Like, that'd be so dumb. Like I just don't understand it. Maybe it's because I'm not like an old head. I think it's more so like guys who watch Carmelo Anthony play from like the start of his career. When Carmelo Anthony was drafted, I was 3 years old, so I didn't watch him play his entire career. I couldn't even remember that far back. So maybe I just don't get it or something. But I think that's perfectly fine to call either one Melo. I just want to make a quick note about that. But back to Carmelo Anthony. Incredible performance tonight. He put up 29 points. He had 17 in the fourth quarter. He just could not miss from three. He made the Hornets pay every time he touched the ball, and I'm super happy for him finding a home in Portland after he left the Thunder and he was kind of kicked around. Like the Rockets tried him out and they didn't really want him, and it was kind of up in the air if he was going to get a spot back in the league. He got signed to the Trailblazers, and it was kind of iffy. People were like, "Oh, I'm not sure if this is going to work," and he's been an incredible pickup for them. He was really a gem that they found. They were like, "We still trust in you. We still think you can hit the big shots," and he can. He was the reason the Trailblazers ended up keeping the Hornets at bay this game, because the Hornets started to make a little pushback, and then Melo just hit like a 14 jab step 2-pointer that some basketball purists might hate, but it's really entertaining to watch. I love watching Carmelo Anthony succeed. As someone who wasn't able to fully watch him in like his prime, it's cool to still see him show these flashes of what was once one of the best players in the entire NBA. So I'm really happy for him. Happy for the Blazers. They're making it work. I don't have a beef with the Blazers. I know there's the whole Dame OKC thing, but it's whatever. I'm not gonna be petty about that or anything. Just cool for the Blazers. They're succeeding, and I'm happy for Carmelo Anthony. Also, shout out Thunder legend Enes Kanter on that team as well. So beyond that game, we could talk about the Nets Spurs game. Another great game from tonight. DeJounte Murray hits a buzzer beater. If you remember the Kyrie Irving shot from like I think it was last season, one of his first games. It might have even been his first game as a net, where he like fell over and like dribbled the ball in a circle and got up and tried to shoot it, and he just barely missed. It was like a street ball type move. DeJounte Murray tried that too inadvertently, and he hit it to send this game to overtime. The Nets did end up winning in overtime. The Spurs just didn't have the firepower to keep up with them. Kyrie had 27. James Harden had an incredible 30-point triple-double. He's really good, and if he wasn't on such a stacked team, I'm sure he'd be getting talked about in the MVP conversations. He honestly kind of deserves to be talked about in those MVP conversations, but I don't think that he will end up getting the award or really much consideration at all due to the nature of his team, having KD, having Kyrie, even though both of them have missed some time, and when they have missed time, he's done an excellent job at carrying the load even without them. I don't think he's going to get that much attention for it. I just don't. I don't think that they're going to reward him for that. So it might be another season where Harden fans call for a snub. I don't think it'll necessarily be a snub, but I do think he does deserve some kind of recognition, even if he doesn't win the award. I'd like to see him get talked about in that kind of conversation because he's great. He's been phenomenal for this team. Nuggets Bulls, this was really just the Jokic show. Jokic just murdered the Bulls. Wendell Carter Jr., I like him a lot as a player, but he's not stopping Nikola Jokic. I don't really think anyone is, but especially not Wendell Carter Jr. He's just a little too small. Some Bulls fans think they need a different center. I had Bulls fans reach out to me to ask about bringing in Al Horford after this game, so clearly they're kind of frustrated with the fact that he's kind of gotten killed. There have been multiple times this season where Wendell Carter's kind of gotten killed by centers. I think he's just kind of still developing into that role. Maybe he's more like a power forward, but he's not like an incredible floor stretcher or anything. I don't know. I'm not sure where he fits. I still think of him as like an Al Horford type player where he's kind of like a smaller center, but it still fits that role pretty well. I think it just might take some time to adjust, so we'll see. Levine had a solid game. Kobe White had a solid game. It just was not enough for Jokic, who looked like an MVP candidate tonight. Jazz Pelicans. Pelicans won this game. Like, you might be surprised to hear that if you didn't check the score. This is a huge effort from the Pelicans, beating a Jazz team that I think this is only their 7th or 8th loss in the entire season. And for the Pelicans, a team that's really been struggling to come out and kind of punch them in the mouth and take a win here is huge. Really, they just did what I feel like they should have been doing all season. Tonight, it was Zion, Ingram, and a little bit of Lonzo thrown in there. Lonzo had one of his better games of the season, honestly. He had around 21 points, but it was mainly Zion and Ingram. Both scored 26. JJ Redick looked like no longer the corpse of himself that he's kind of looked like this season. He looked like the JJ Redick of old, and they beat the Jazz by 5 points. They took him down. Bojan Bogdanovic tried to throw a punch back at him with 31 points. It just wasn't enough, and this is a huge win for the Pelicans. This is a big statement because a lot of other teams have tried to beat the Jazz, and they haven't, and for the Pelicans, a very young team, to come in here and do that against a team that has kind of run away with the Western Conference up to this point. I think they're 3 games up on anyone else. That's huge for a team that's trying to turn around their season. This could be a statement win, and maybe they use this to try and catapult themselves back up into the playoff race, because the big wins like this are the ones that can really get teams on rolls, get them going. So I guess that remains to be seen, but shout out to them for the win tonight. I guess I'll talk about Cavs Rockets. The Rockets suck. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with me on that. They miss Christian Wood so badly. John Wall had a great game tonight. Victor Oladipo had a solid scoring game, even if he was inefficient, and they lost by 11. They scored 90 points with like good scoring games from Wall and a good scoring game from Oladipo. Lost by 11 to the Cavaliers, who scored 101 points. They scored 101. You lost by 11 in like today's NBA. Now, like I said, the Rockets are missing a lot. They're missing guys. They're missing Christian Wood. They're starting Justin Patton at center because they don't have DeMarcus Cousins anymore, obviously. This team's just rough, and I need them to stop losing. I need Christian Wood to come back, because the Thunder only get their draft pick if it's outside of the top 4, and with how bad they've been, that might not happen anymore. Now, I still don't think that they're as bad as like the Wolves and like the Pistons. Like, I think those teams are beneath them still and will remain beneath them. But I'd prefer for them to have like the 4th, 5th best odds, so at least then I feel more comfortable with the fact that we might get that draft pick. Because I don't know if my heart rate can take draft night if we're waiting to see if they fall out of the top 4 to get the 5th or 6th overall pick, or if we're going to fall all the way into the 20s with the Miami Heat. And I don't think Rockets fans can take that heartbreak or just like that adrenaline either. So Rockets fans, let's just agree Christian Wood comes back and you guys win a few more games and the Thunder just get your 5th overall draft pick. So I think that's a fair deal. Let me know what you guys think. Sixers Pacers, this is a blowout. The Pacers desperately miss Warren. They desperately need LeVert to make his debut. Jeremy Lamb wasn't in this game. The Sixers just demolished them. This was unbelievably a bad game for the Pacers. It was just absolute annihilation. They never stood a chance. Joel Embiid destroyed Miles Turner, who is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and Joel Embiid made him look silly tonight. It was dominant, and these are the games that I know people keep saying like the Sixers don't have wins over 500 teams or whatever. But if you're playing a team that's under 500 missing guys like this Pacers team, a hallmark of what makes you a really good team is that you blow these teams out, and they blew them out. Like, this was not close. And if you're playing those teams that are really struggling, that's what you have to do if you're a contender. I think the Sixers are a contender. They got the job done tonight. Finally, the last game was the Mavericks-Magic game. I don't have a lot to say about this game, just that Vucevic needs help desperately. Evan Fournier tried to help him tonight. It just wasn't enough. Vucevic, I still think the Magic should trade him, or at least gauge the market on him. I think you're doing a huge disservice to yourself and Vucevic if you don't at least gauge, see what's out there. If you get a good offer, take it. Go on, rebuild. Use the second half of the season to see what you have in Mo Bamba. Maybe see if he's the center of the future. If he's not, maybe look at one in the draft, because if you trade Vucevic, this team is going to fall very, very quickly towards the bottom of the conference and to the bottom of the NBA as a whole. The Mavericks side of the ball, Luka played like an MVP candidate. The Mavericks are really on the come up now. I think they're at the 9 seed right now. They're knocking on the door of the playoff picture. They're 17-16, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that though. They're making themselves known after really struggling, kind of similarly to the Miami Heat, who really struggled to start the season. The Mavericks struggled. They had some issues with injuries, they had some issues with COVID, and now they're finally picking it back up. I hope or at least I could tell Mavericks fans are a little chilled out, because I'm seeing a lot less calls for Rick Carlisle's head, and I'm seeing a lot less calls for a bunch of trades to be made. I still would not be surprised if this team does make trades. There's reports that they're still gauging Porzingis' value due to his inability to stay healthy and how much money they have to pay him. I still think it's a little early to move on. I would at least wait to the offseason, but I'm not a GM and I'm not Mark Cuban, so I guess we'll have to see what they think about that. So that's all the games from today. Let me know what you thought about the games. What were your takeaways? Let me know what you think about the whole LaMelo Ball, Melo name thing or whatever, if you care at all. I don't care that much. I just thought I would make my opinion known because it seems to be a hot topic on Twitter right now. At @3_Cone on Twitter. Go check me out if you don't already follow me. You probably came from there, but if you didn't by some magic, then yeah, go check me out on there. And I believe that's it. So I'll see you guys later. Everyone, say it back.